Hi, everybody. Welcome to Nurse True Crime. I'm your host, Sarah, and as always, I'm super excited to be here. Kind of love talking about these stories. I find them fascinating. Today's true crime story is based on the true story of The Good Nurse, which is now showing on Netflix. And this guy was prolific. His name was Charles Cullen. So he was brought down by his best friend, Amy Logren, who got to know him in a hospital. And he started out like he was changing hospitals all the time. He worked at like 12 hospitals in 8 years. It was a lot, right? And they were all suspicious. He was truly heinous. He went on a 16-year killing spree. 16 years he got away with this. He worked between New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and considered one of the worst serial killers of all time, and maybe the worst, with the most victims. So he was convicted of killing 29 people, and he was suspected of killing around 400 people. That's crazy. And the chilling thing, and there's definitely spoiler alerts, right? But the chilling thing about this movie was that his last statement is, "Why'd you do it?" And he's like, "Because they didn't stop me." And I'm like, what? That's crazy. That's such a crazy statement to make, but he was right. They didn't stop him. So he was known for, he would go to work, he would put drugs like heart drugs, nicardipine, and also insulin in the NSS normal saline bags in storage. So not on his unit, but in storage. Or maybe the storage unit was on his unit, but he would go to the central supply storage and put the stuff in the bags there. And then it would be very random, which is the scariest kind of serial killer, right? Because they do choose people at random. So he would kill them with these drugs, and he killed like young people, old people, it didn't matter. The backstory for him, according to the movie, was that his mom died in a hospital, had lost her body, which I can't even imagine that happening, but I guess it could nowadays. And the way that he accomplished this, the drugs, right? The way he got the drugs was that he would cancel out the medication, which you can do in a Pyxis, right? So that is completely accurate. And we do that in the ED sometimes, because the lid doesn't open or something happens, and then we have to go back in and get the drug. And so you cancel it, or you take too much out accidentally and you have to put one back, like you cancel the med. Like there are definitely, but apparently he had like hundreds of these, right? So they finally like tracked it down to him and realized that he was basically just killing these people with too much insulin and too many heart meds. And yeah, it was random and devastating to these families. The one family that I believe he was convicted of, they had just had a baby like 6 months prior. She was there for something completely innocuous, right? Like it wasn't something that it was going to be a long recovery period, and he killed her. And that's just crazy to me. That's very, very sad to me. So yeah, and I don't know. This movie was very, very well acted, though. It was absolutely better than The Nurse, which is the one I covered last week, right? It was so much better. It was played, so Amy was played by Jessica Chastain, and then Charles Cullen was played by Eddie Redmayne. I think that's how you say it. But very well acted and no slow beginnings, right? She had a heart condition. He became her friend. At the end, he told her that he never intended to hurt her. In fact, he helped her a lot. And of course, she was terrified, right? Like he had a history and it was pretty intense. And at one point, she ended up meeting somebody that she knew that worked with him. The healthcare system is very incestuous, like, people everywhere. But it was it was a very good movie. They did an excellent job casting this movie. I don't think I could have imagined it any different without the people that were playing it. I highly recommend you see it. But the common thread here, right, is that the administration knew about it and they suspected him, but they never investigated him. So Amy, this nurse that was a good nurse, right? That's why it's called the good nurse. She started suspecting him because these people were dying with no cause. And literally the hospital kind of forbade her from talking to the police, like the risk management, which I think would absolutely happen. And she kind of went against that so that she could stop him. And in the end, he ended up telling the truth because she asked him to. So this guy, I don't know, 400 people, that is insane to think about how many people that is. Over a 16-year period, I mean, 400 divided by 16 is what? Let's look at this. Let's see how much it is. 400 divided by 16 equals, so he killed basically 25 people a year, which is 2 people a month approximately. Anybody that's killing that many people, like, I just think they would notice, like, a pattern, especially when he's leaving, right? But this is the problem. I mean, I think that administration sometimes hinders due process in a lot of ways, but I don't know, like, there's definitely good administrations out there. I'm not saying that, but, like, you know, should he be criminally convicted? Absolutely. He broke the law. I do not think that nurses that willfully break the law should be prosecuted. Or I think they should be prosecuted. I think people that make mistakes should not be prosecuted, right? Like, there are things that happen and it just turns the industry to a different type of industry. But this guy absolutely, and he's serving like 29 consecutive life sentences, right? He's never getting out. There's no way he's getting out. I mean, hopefully someday he will, talk about how many people he killed or, who they were so that people have some sense of settling, release. But other than that, like, it's pretty much ended. So I don't know. It's a crazy, crazy story, though. Highly, highly recommend it. It is on Netflix, so you can check it out there. And that is our true crime story of the day. I'll see you guys next week for another true crime story. Tune in then.